The nation's highest court has ruled that a question about citizenship should be dropped from the upcoming census. The decision is viewed as a major setback for the Trump administration, and the president has tweeted that he'd like to delay the census until he can persuade the court to alter its decision. The justices in the 5-4 majority say the president simply offered no acceptable explanation why the question was necessary. The undercurrent here is that many believe the question was added simply to suppress response, and therefore numbers and funding and areas where Democrats tend to benefit from the highest possible count. Tony?
Well, it's not surprising that President Trump wants to delay the constitutionally mandated census, which is supposed to be every 10 years. Perhaps he wants to wait another 11 or 12 years. But I do want to say I'm very proud of the Supreme Court, and it makes me happy to see that there's a balance of power. There's a perception that is a Republican-dominated Supreme Court. For them to come to this wise decision, to me, proves that we still have balance of powers.
Okay, I'll always follow with Bob.
Let's be clear, there were two decisions that the Supreme Court handed down on this issue. The first decision, 5-4, in favor of the fact that the Census Bureau can ask the question, are you a U.S. citizen? You know, I'm a big fan of Ancestry.com, and I've gone back and looked at my family records all the way back to the beginning of this country. And in almost every one of those sentences, the question is, they're a U.S. citizen, yes or no? And it's not an unbiased, not an unnecessary or exclusionary type of question. The second decision, where Justice Roberts flip-flopped, didn't say you can't do this. It said that you have that the evidence presented doesn't match up to what they're saying, and so the court has to revisit it. They didn't say you can't do it, and the president doesn't have to start the census on January 1st to meet the constitutional requirements.
Michelle, what are the political brass tacks on this? I mean, and what's your reaction?
I don't think you can say that it's an unbiased question. The citizenship question is, you know, we've got people in the shadows now more than ever thanks to the president's hateful rhetoric and current immigration policy, and this would just push them further into the shadows, and that leaves a lot of money on the table for places like Houston, Texas.
Okay, Wayno.
Okay, so now people are suppressed because they get something in the mail and they're afraid to fill it out because they think someone's going to come arrest them. Look, I got this weird idea. Like, the people who are actually citizens of this country should be the ones that are represented in this country, and the rest of the folks.
It's not what it says in the Constitution.
I don't care.
Okay,
You don't care about the
okay,
Constitution.
Blain,
It's dumb.
Just like Trump.
I'm with Justice Clarence Thomas on this, who said for the first time ever the court is invalidating an action based on sincerity. Since when is sincerity the determining line of lawfulness or unlawfulness? Right. I think that they should ask. We should know who's on our country and if they're here, if they're a citizen or not.
Okay.
Lucky they can't.
Word.
I mean, this is the GOP playbook right now can be summarized as if you can't win, cheat. And that is, they are trying to cut off funding to places with a lot of undocumented people and with people who are documented but might have relatives who are not. And they're trying to throw even more people in the shadows to cut off, to cut off funding to places, to urban areas that tend to vote Democratic, including Houston, Texas, which is tending to be more blue because of the influx of immigrants.
Okay. I got a little 15 seconds to close on this.
Okay, the fact is that Congress abdicated its responsibility on the census to the Department of Commerce many decades ago, and because of that, they could easily come back and pass legislation to say yes or no on this. They haven't done that.
Okay.
They should have addressed gerrymandering.
1.5 billion pieces of paper are supposed to be printed tomorrow, and our fiscally responsible president wants to just keep pushing that back. That's going to
irresponsible.